I'd spent about 3.5 years in the Navy, got out in San Diego, or moved down to San Diego, and I needed a job, so I got a job. So they sent me to Babyland Diaper Service, and I was the maintenance. I did maintenance work. I had to take the bags and throw them up on top of the girls were all in a line, and I had to take them and throw them up on top of the tables. And then Darcy and all the other ladies, they would count.
We had to count them to see if they all came back.
You know, marriage these days is such a throwaway. It's a throwaway with everything these days, and it's a commitment, and you should try and make it work. You know, and obviously there are times when it just isn't going to work, but I think a lot of people are throwing in the towel, and I think they're really missing out on life because they're, you know,
and they get bored. They get real bored in their marriage, so they think it's that other person that's doing it, but it's not. Just get in there and try different things.
Yeah.
You know.
It's a two-sided.
Do different things because that person may be bored too. You know.
Yeah, and you should at least talk about it and see if you can't work it out.
It's worth it. It's worth it to hang in there. It gets way, way better. It gets way different, but it gets way better. The different
steps
you
older
go
too,
through,
and different
and
things.
Raising kids together, and you know all that.
Yeah.
It gets better. When you marry that person, you don't know them. You're going to learn all kinds of things about them, and you're going to grow with each other, you know. And you can't change that person. These poor kids these days, they jump into it. They want to change the spouse to be just like they want them to be. Just accept that person, you know, for who they are. Work through the different things. You're going to have arguments. You're not going to like each other. You know, there's been a lot of times.
Yeah. It's
a lot of times.
Good thing she didn't drive early on.
You don't have to like
I'd have been out alone there.
You don't have to always like each other, but you have to be committed. You have to be committed to that person, and take your vows when it says, you know, for better or worse. There's going to be a lot of worse, you know, and you're going to work through it, and that's how you're going to grow, and that's how you're going to love each other because you have worked through that hard time, you know, and it brings you closer together.
The soon we shook hands, I felt like an electricity in my body, and he felt the same way. And we fall in love right there. That night, I spent the night there, me and my sister, with the family. And he asked me if I'd marry him that night, the same night. I said yes. But he said, we cannot marry right now, but when I come back from the army, you wait for me and we can marry. I said, okay. My mother was so surprised, my mother no. And they asked him, why are you going to marry so fast? You don't even know this girl. And the same thing happened with my father and my mom. And that night, he told his mom that we were going to get married because the brother says, you leave this girl here without marriage, you're not going to find her when you come back. Been married so many years, it's up and down, especially with the family and things like that, you know. Hard times sometimes, but if you love somebody, real love, you forgive everything, and you know. Sometimes when I used to get mad with him, I remember when I met him and when we were in love and things like that, and all the angry disappeared, you know.
Just realizes you and her together, that's forever. There's no question there. And if we have to make adjustments along, we make them. She's everything a wife wants to be. She's my best friend.
Yeah.
She's the most important person in my life.
In 47, when I got discharged for the first 2 years in the service, you called me because she played tennis and I didn't. And she offered to teach me, so we started that in 48, yeah.
Pretty steady, but it was 3.5 years before we got married. Well, he was handsome, and I think he still is. That's this nice picture on my...
Just old.
No, nice picture on my bureau. I could see that he was hardworking. And when he came to visit, my mother took to him right away, and she invited him in for strawberry waffles. And we've been having those every Christmas since. I think trust is part of that, and faith. And we don't tell lies to each other. If there's something to talk about, we don't keep secrets that may fester into something large. We just seem to complement each other. We didn't argue about things, and if an argument was going to begin, I said, no, we don't do that. I don't want to do that. I don't know where the time's gone. I just don't think we've had enough yet.
She was 14 and I was 15.
That was at the beginning of World War II.
Her and her friend were having a bicycle ride in the same place. So we give him a whistle.
Turned round and followed us, you know. He wanted to see me the next evening, and of course we hadn't got any money, so we had to ride bikes. He couldn't afford to catch a bus, and they hadn't got a car because they didn't have them in World War II. He couldn't get the gas or petrol.
I said to her before we left, parted that evening, I said, will you be my girl?
Are you going to be my girl? Meaning, was I going to date somebody else or not, you know? I said, well, we'll see, I guess.
No, she said,
14 and 15.
here we are.
We sit here, because we're English, so we have our tea. And we just sit here with our cup of tea and we reminisce, you know. And it's gone really fast. We say there's so many phases. There's so many phases. First few years, you know, you're well, I don't know, this passion, I guess, the first. And then you get your kids and they come first. And then they grow up and get your empty nest. So there's different phases you go through, and you can change. Maybe that's why some people don't stick together. My youngest daughter, when she was a teenager, said she wished when she got a man, that he looked at her like he looks at me. I can count on the fingers of one hand how many times he's brought me flowers. Right? How many times you brought me flowers.
Oh,
But I didn't need them. I knew he was always there, you know.
We got married in 1942,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to.
We kind of got a long story, make it
Well,
a bit
it
short.
is a long story. 70
Yeah.
years, I can't remember.
We met. I saw Rene on the coach, and then when I saw Rene, everybody seemed to fade away. I could just see her. The war broke out in Europe
39.
in September of 1939, when Germany marched into Poland.
But then you volunteered for the Royal Air Force.
Then I volunteered in 1939.
And then I moved out of London because of the bombing. We were, I wasn't married then. My family, my mother, father.
We'd been through a lot together.
Well, been through wars.
Yeah.
Well, we have a lovely family. And lots of love all the way around. Our kids.
Kids.
And they're the same way with us,
Yeah.
you know.